Good evening. Welcome to Rivalz Race Chat. Clinton, Geoffrey, and Adam here as we are weekly on Tuesdays. Welcome back. Adam, how
Do
you
you
doing
mean
this week,
every
buddy?
do you mean every week, Clint?
I think so. I don't know what I mean these
Or like
days.
weekly is in the opposite of strongly? We're here weekly, feebly.
Yeah, I am feebly working today. I am very weak today, but well, we'll talk about that later. But anyways, we do have some good guests coming on. That's last week's rundown, Spencer. So you need to
I
wipe
was
that
gonna
and
say,
flip back to
boy,
the
that looks
page. 'Cause,
familiar.
like, wow, we're going back in time.
Deja vu all over again.
I did my homework, so it was changed. We'll also do some quick wit trivia that I'm sure we'll get caught up here on shortly. So we've invited Pete Vanderwyst to the show, and you want to talk pronunciation? There you go, Adam. Is it Vanderwyst, Vanderwyst? I heard Greg say it a couple different ways than you did, and I was like,
I've
oh
said
no.
I've said it a couple of different ways.
So we'll talk about that. Um, Pete's going to join us. Jared Fitzpatrick's going to join us. And Todd Lewis is going to join us to talk about the season that was with the NASCAR Pinty Series as well. So we have a fairly packed show. What do you want to talk about, Adam?
Ah, nothing comes to mind.
Let's
Yeah,
get rapid
I want
Delaware.
I want to talk about. You know what? Before we even roll in, condolences to the May family on the passing of Gary May, and I want to send out some well wishes to Todd Alger, who was the president of the Waterloo Kart Club for some years, uh, and he's in a tough battle with cancer right now, and it's not looking good. But I wanted to know that people are thinking of him and keep fighting the fight.
You guys building something over there? Is that on your end?
I think Decker's digging for something. Hon, what's Decker
Oh,
digging for under the couch?
Do I know? Am I under there?
That's why I asked.
Like, not to be rude, but
well, no. I don't know how to come out of that one. It's all yours, buddy.
She is all mine. 20 years this spring.
of marriage.
Hey, hon, it was his ball. It's his ball he was digging for, under where you were sitting. You should know when you're sitting on balls.
I would, if I sat on balls once in a
I
while.
don't know. It's what keeps us happy.
Lovely. Let's jump into our quick wit trivia this week. It goes back to the NASCAR Pinty Series, where the question is, are you ready for it, Spencer? Go ahead, just throw it up on the screen. The question was, I'll pull it up on my screen then. NASCAR Pinty Series, who completed the most laps in 2022? Who completed the most laps in 2022? Now, Adam, I had two other questions I was going to ask when I did the research for that. And they were, one thing, who had the best average start and who had the best average finish? And that's, now these are not the official contest, questions, but between you and me right now, if you had to say who had the best average finish, who would you think it was?
Either DJ or Lacroix. DJ.
Okay, now I'm not going to give it away yet. And the best average start.
I think Cameron.
Well, the reason I didn't put these out because they're actually a trick question. Because the best average start is very easy to manipulate by how many starts you have made. So both of these were drivers who only did one race. So your best average start was, now that you know that, you want to try again? So of the one-timers, who had the best average start?
No, because I wouldn't participate in such a foolish survey.
Well, I found the stats when I was looking up. So I just thought it was interesting that it was Schrader started third at Oshweek and had the best average start. Friesen, who did the one-off at Oshweek and had finishing second, had the best average finish. But, we never would have been able to give it away. So the actual question is, who completed the most laps in the NASCAR Pinty Series in 2022? Do you know who that would have been, Adam? Any thoughts on that?
The most laps?
Yeah, who completed the most laps? And
Yeah,
it's not Cameron, I'll tell you that.
I would still say Kennington.
All right, well, we'll see what the guesses come in, and we'll jump in with that. But our first guest of the night, go ahead.
I think the question should have been, how many minutes of red flag did the announcers have to fill Friday, Saturday, and Sunday?
Too many from a safety standpoint and driver injury point of view. You know, we certainly don't like to be filling time like we had to on Friday while we're waiting for the safety crews to come in, but it was a long time. We had some fun with Abby flying around. I don't know if Spencer's going to show those clips later, but still we had a good time with that. So let's bring in our first guest, the newly crowned Quick Wick Superstock champion, Pete Vanderwyst. Pete, welcome to the program. Can you hear us?
How you doing, guys?
Good.
Can you hear me? Obviously.
Loud and clear, man.
Awesome.
So, Adam, you have dealt with Pete back in the day from the early days of CASCAR, NASCAR, and when you got involved in the racing side of things. Now for Pete to come back, I think it's very cool that Pete's out there racing in this division. Brings a lot of clout to this class as well, Adam. You know, I'll throw to you for the first comments and questions for Pete tonight.
Yeah, Pete, first off, congratulations on the championship.
Thanks very much, guys. Appreciate everything you guys do for the sport.
Well, no, the sport does a lot for us. Otherwise, we'd just be pointing cameras at nothing. So the feeling is mutual, but we appreciate it. You know, the fans are phenomenal to us, and so are the racers. So we are as proud of the work that we do, Pete, as you are of winning the championship, right? We're all part of the sport doing different things, but I think we're in a great place right now. In fact, that's what I want to start with. Can you remember a time when racing was in a better place with the kind of corporate involvement we've got from track owners to sponsors of the racing in our area?
I honestly can. I mean, what Luke and John and, the APC, Ivor and Steve and the boys have done, and, with the Speedback boys, I mean, what they've done with Delaware the last year and a half has been phenomenal, with the repaving, the investment, the timeline that they've got with the lease, with the facility. I mean, what a great time for them to get in, and just a great time for racers to get involved and for fans to get involved. It's pretty phenomenal what you're seeing, what's happening right now, specifically. And again, it's more Delaware that I'm involved with that's really bringing it to a head, I believe.
Pete, with all these young kids coming up, you've got so much talent, and then we even see the next generation already coming up. As Adam said, things are really healthy. What's been the toughest thing with you, being a veteran, having to deal with some of these younger superstars that are coming up through the ranks?
Oh, again, and I'm not sure if you guys are aware of the story of how I got back into it, but I was out of it for 12 years, and I was stopping at Whitey's place and at McCall's place on a regular basis once a month just to get my racing fix and get involved, and just seeing what was going on and just hearing all the scuttlebutts of what's going on here, what's going on there, the evolution of what the street stocks were to what the super stocks are today, the pro late models, what they were, back in the day when I was running, to what they are today. I mean, things have really, really evolved. And and the talent is just, it's second to none. The involvement that these kids are getting involved with, as far as, wrenching on the cars, knowing what their cars are doing. I mean, you talk to Lane and Trevor and Garrett and Carson. Dyson. All these kids are all working on their cars on a regular basis, like we did back in the day, working in the shop, working everything that you can to try to get the most speed out of the car you can. So that's the part that really intrigues me, is that these kids are actually involved. They're working on the cars, and they're getting their hands dirty, if you will, and they've got an understanding what the car is doing underneath them when they're on the track.
How I got a two-part question for you, Pete. How fun is it racing those super stocks, and how affordable is it? Is it attainable for a weekend racer to be able to run one of these cars, and how much fun are they to drive?
Well, when we got involved with the car last year, it was on a whim. I was getting a total knee replacement on June 2nd. and I stopped for my monthly check-in at Mike's place, and they had a car sitting there that was supposed to be driven by Connor Pritico, and then he ended up jumping to the late models, and then I think Carson Nagy was supposed to jump in it, and then him and his dad figured they would build a new car. So this car was just sitting there, and Mike's like, "You want to get back in it?" I said, "What are they?" And he basically said, "They're like your old gas car. You know, they're leaf spring in the back, but I mean, it's got a full cage, it's got a Camaro clip up front. They got this whole big spring small bar stuff, which was really I had no idea back from when we ran back in CASCAR. So it was like, just jump in it, get involved, see what happens, see if you like it, see if you want to get back into it, and maybe it's something that we can get Peter in, which is my son."
And the fun factor. So not only because you get a good car king, that's number one, Pete. You've got to have a bunch of people to race with. But as far as driving them on the track, is it the same kind of thrill for you as the CASCAR used to be?
It is. I mean, I really enjoyed the 250 lap, 300 lap races, with live pit stops. That was always a lot of fun because it put a little bit more strategy into it, a little bit more timing into what you had to do on the racetrack as far as, attrition and everything else. But these 35 lap, run and gun type races and the 50 lap type lap races that we're doing, they're a ton of fun. And I mean, we've had a blast. And I think I said it to Chisholm and the guys the last couple of weeks, and I've been on their show, that I've had more fun racing the last 2 years, a different kind of fun the last 2 years, because my family's completely involved with the whole program on both sides. Whereas back in the day, the kids were young, they weren't traveling, and we were taking off here, taking off there, and the guys would either be jumping on a plane and heading to a racetrack out west or out east, or jumping in the hauler and heading off for a full weekend and driving straight back home and going to work on Monday morning.
Pete, let's talk a bit about, the division, where it's been headed. Things have been great. It's been such a great ladder system. We see that continue to grow with these guys. Do you have any desire to move back up to APC or move back up to the NPS?
I mean, as much as I would love to jump on a Pinty's car, I mean, the cost factor for that is just, when I was running, the first sponsor we got with Loctite back in '97, I mean, we thought we hit a grand slam and we were getting $70,000 a year back then. And back then, Adam, that was a shitload of money. And we ran pretty good. We weren't, we were young. We had really no idea what we were doing. I mentored up with Nags, and we got a lot of help and some mentoring from those guys, from him and Sam Rounce, and got hooked up with Merv Spuck and got on their motor program. And when we ended with Loctite after 4 years, unfortunately, we were sitting around, I think it was $1.50. And when Exide came knocking on the door in 2000, we were upwards of $1.80. And when they left in 2001, it was $220,000. And that was a lot of money back then. And but there was a huge commitment on my part from a sponsorship side, as far as the pressure of having to do good, and all of the venues that I was going to with the show car, and having to be there with them on a lot of different venues, which was a lot of fun. I mean, I would never change anything on how we did it. But there was a lot of pressure in it, and for all these guys, I mean, for Kennington to have Castro for 30 years is just, him and I were talking yesterday, and that's an accomplishment in itself. And that's probably the biggest accomplishment that I would have from an admiration standpoint of any of these guys, is to have that kind of commitment from a corporate sponsor that long, and to be that committed. And I mean, I've talked to, I know all the guys, Steckley, Hathaway. I mean, I raced with all these guys. So, I mean, if you don't have $400,000 to start and to race the season, you can't do it. You can't do it competitively. And, I've worked at McCall's, the last probably 8 months working on cars with those guys and learning a lot more. You can't buy a car for $175,000. So it's a ton of money. You need a road course car. You got to have an oval car. You probably got to have a backup car, and now you got to have a dirt car. So it's a big investment to do the Pinties. But I mean, I would love to jump back into one of them if the funding was there. I've been asked to run some APC races next year. We're contemplating that, but I don't know whether that'll actually come to fruition. We've got the super stock, obviously sitting here in the shop, and we're going over it and getting things ready. We've got my son and I were working on it tonight before we jumped online here, and we're hoping to get him in the car on Monday and get him to shake it down and see how he feels with that, and hopefully next year he'll be in the super stock running it. And the plan right now is he'll run the Delaware Friday night program, and we'll try to defend our Quick Wick series next year.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. To your point, Pete, and you're absolutely right on the costs. The positive side is you take a racer like Kevin Lacroix or LP Dumoulin from the road racing that they were doing. They're talking 7-figure budgets. So when they look at a $4,000 a year budget to run a dozen races that are featured on TV with the partners that they bring to the table, they're looking at it as a huge cost savings compared to the formula racing that they would have been doing. So
absolutely. And again, it's all perspective on where you're at, right? So I always said, if you want to make $1 million in racing, start off with about 4.
Yep.
But Pete, I have a question for you, if I can jump in, Adam. Like, Pete, you've been through this, so let's talk about the cost of the cars. Are they overpriced? Is that just where things are now? Like, how do they get the cost down? And the biggest thing that I've been saying about this is it needs to be attainable, and kids have to aspire to do it if their parents aren't millionaires. There was a day when if you worked hard and could make a couple of good connections and were a half decent spokesperson, you could make it. How does it get back to be attainable? Is it just the market around here has raised these cars? How do we get the cost back in the box?
Well, I don't think, it's all relative, right? Back in 95, I could buy a pickup for $27,000 and it was loaded. Now, if I want to buy a pickup truck, it's $80,000 and it's loaded. So I think it's all relative. I think, wages have gone up significantly. So I really don't know whether it are they expensive? Race cars are expensive. At the end of the day, it is what it is. And guys that want to get involved have got to get involved with teams if they aspire to jump up, whether it's from a bone stock to a super stock to a late model, and then hopefully into a Pinty's car if we're claiming that to be the top echelon of where Canadian racing is. You have to find people that want to get involved in that support behind you to make that affordable to attain your goals. But do I think the cars are expensive? I don't think they're any more expensive than relative to what we were paying back in the early 90s, mid 90s.
Mm-hmm. So I suppose the fair question would be, let's assume Peter has the same ambition that you did, Pete. Where does he want to land? What are his ultimate goals? What would be exciting to him? Is APC, is the Pinty series, is going south to race?
Well, I think that's the $1 million question, right? So he's got to get in the car. He's got to get a bunch of laps. We put him into bone stock this year. Everybody said, "Why are you putting him into bone stock?" And I said, you know what? The biggest thing that you have to learn as a racer is to run through traffic. And when you've got 38 bone stocks out on that racetrack and they're all vying for position, you guys have seen it, you guys have watched it. You really have to be able to look ahead. I've always said that, I grew up racing motocross, and Peter grew up racing motocross, and he grew up playing AAA hockey, playing junior hockey. And you can't look where the puck is. You always have to look where the puck is going. You always have to be looking. When you're going into turn 1, you got to know what's going on in turn 2. You've always got to be anticipating on what's going on and seeing forward what's happening. So I really believe that, by putting him in the bone stock class this year and him and his guys working on their car and getting a feel for what they got to do and having a couple bad nights where, they had to come back and they had to work their guts out every night on the week to be able to get the race car back to the track on Friday night to be competitive or to at least run. So that to me is the most important part is to see the desire and the passion to be able to work on the car. That's why, I've got great admiration for those young guys that I had mentioned earlier that work on their car. Shea Gemmel, you got JR. All these guys work their nuts off working on these cars day in, day out, just like like I did, and Donnie Thompson and Gibb and Nags, and we all did the same thing. And that's what to me is really aspiring to see that these young guys are all doing.
Pete, we're supposed to have J.R. Fitzpatrick on in about 5 minutes time. We asked him to come on around 8:25, so we got a few more minutes with you. My question for you is, let's take you back to Friday night. Let's get into the deal. Last couple weeks, you know, you did you I don't want to say it because I wasn't there, but you did not capture the Delaware Championship. And you
I
can tell that story for us
did
in a
not.
minute. Then you go on to capture the Quick Wick Superstock Championship on Friday night. But one comment you said that in Victory Lane, or when you were in second place, you said you just didn't have the tires that Rick Spencer-Walt had. Can you explain the tire situation and what you meant by that comment to maybe some of the viewers? And even myself was kind of in depth with the situation. I didn't understand how he could have better tires and you didn't, and you had to use old tires and he didn't. So explain that for us if you can.
So under the new rule that we were positioned under this year because of the tire shortage that we were having throughout the years, the super stocks for all of the Quick Wick races were put under a tire inventory. So we were only allowed a certain amount of tires to run throughout the year, and we had to manage those tires throughout the year. So all the guys that ran 100% of the races, like my tires on Friday night on my left sides had 140 laps on them from Sunset in the last Delaware race, and then the right sides had the Sunset race on it. So they had 60, well, they probably had 75 laps on them from practice, qualifying, and the actual feature. So we started out of the gate with tires that had, you know, my lefts had 2 races on them and my rights had 1 race on them. And the guys that just get to come into the race for a one-time show, they get to start off with 4 brand new ones. So they get to start off with what I call fresh shoes. And I think that's a disadvantage to the guys that run on a regular basis, and an advantage to the guys that just get to jump in for one race here and there.
Is
that clear enough?
Yeah. Is there a better way to do it? I mean, I understand what they've built and why they did it. Is there a fairer way to do it, Pete, so that you're on a level playing field, or is that just kind of the cards we were dealt this year?
Well, without question, it's the cards that we were dealt with this year, and I totally understand it. I mean, but at the end of the day, you know, I guess there's a couple different ways that you can fix it. I mean, I'll just share my opinion because I generally like to do that. Is we either all run on 4 new tires every week, but that becomes a cost thing, and it may become a tire supply issue down the road, or if guys start on new tires, they have to start way at the back, as opposed to starting, 3 or 4 cars behind, the top, because you know how the deal works. The top 10 basically get inverted. And, whether we set a track record on Friday night and we still start 5th and Zardo starts in there, so we're not starting in our qualifying position, but we're still starting inverted based on what our points are from the series. So are there ways that there's ways that they can fix it? And I'm sure that Luke and Daryl and the guys within the power will try to figure something out. But I mean, without question, Rick had a fast car. I'm not taking that away from him whatsoever. And in my opinion, what happened after the race, I still believe I finished second. I wasn't beating that race car, and a car finished ahead of me. And I've never won a race where a car's finished ahead of me. So Rick won that race, but I think it would have been a bit fair fight. I think if we were both on equal playing ground with the tire situation. What's up, JR?
Adam, I have another question if I can jump in here. So Pete, post race, Rick Spencer-Walt did not make weight, and he attributed to the APC series doesn't weigh the cars after the race, which to me, come from the dirt, is shocking. I was dumbfounded and still am that we're not weighing these cars after the races. Like, have we not seen enough Darrell Waltrip cheater stories to know that? What are we doing? So anyways, that was my first thing. So you're saying that the 12 pounds or whatever he was off, I don't know what the number was, you weren't beating him, and that wasn't the difference the tires was. Is that what we're hearing?
God, no. I mean, he could have been 25 or 35 or 40 pounds later. He was beating me, in my opinion, and he may have a different opinion, but and I believe he would probably agree with me that tires would have been the issue. I mean, had I been able to start with new tires, then I think it would have been a fair fight. He still might have been able to beat me, or would have probably beat me. But at the same time, I don't think the weight penalty that he got I mean, obviously there's a rule. So, I mean, I get that part, but I don't believe that that was a factor in him winning that race.
No, and Peter, nobody can argue that, but I think it was a great example of why rule books need to be adhered to. And even Rick understood. Like he knew that when the car went over the scales and didn't make weight, he knew what the repercussions were. And I take my hat off to the officials for doing that, not sweeping something under the rug or putting some sort of other silly penalty in it. If you don't make weight, you get tossed. So an expensive and unfortunate situation, but in the grand scheme of things, it really didn't affect much. It was a fun race to watch. Didn't affect the championship. So all's well that ends well.
I agree. I mean, I think that, the quick guys, you can see both Frank and the guys in the back there, they do a phenomenal job for a ton of different racing series. And I was just happy to be a part of it and very appreciative of winning it. And hopefully we can come back next year, defend it, and we can have a conversation with you guys at the end of the season again.
Ron and Pete, thanks for joining us. We're going to bring up J.R. Fitzpatrick next. We'll see you at the banquet coming up in a few weeks.
Yeah. Tell JR I said hello because I can see him on the screen here.
Will do.
Will do.
Okay. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Pete.
Garrett says, what if four tires was a 5-position penalty? I think you just make them go right to the back. A few more spots.
Mm-hmm.
New tires behind old tires. So let's go for it. Dave Lloyd says, second trivia. How much did G-Force drone pilot Ace Abbey win on challenge bets at Delaware this weekend? That's a good question. I think the first one got blown out. I'm not sure what he made for Under the Wing. I think it was $40 to fly through the tech barn on the one red, but let's not make the champ wait any longer. We just talked to the quick Superstock champ, and now we'll bring in the APC late model champ, J.R. Fitzpatrick. J.R., welcome to the program, and
hey guys,
we appreciate you getting outside.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Hear you just fine, man. Congratulations. That had to be there's different ways to win a championship, JR. And as much of a strain as the last two races were for you, having to adjust your style, I don't think a racer can draw up a better way than what you did. Like, lay down the gauntlet. You were the car to beat from the start of the season. You stayed on top all the way through the season. I mean, could things have gone any better for you?
Well, I mean, everything can always go better. I mean, we could win every race, right? But I mean, yeah, from just looking at how bad my year was last year to what this year was, no complaints at all. In terms of the last two races, I hate driving like that, quite frankly. Like, Sobel just, riding around, trying not to hit anything or anyone and getting anybody's trouble. And then we ended up third. And then Saturday night, the car was actually really good, and we were going to battle with Triton Lathbridge for third, and I ended up blistering a tire. So the wheel was shaking in my hand. And, of course, I'm saying to the team, I think I got flat. And, they're just full of nerves, and I'm squeezing the wheel, hoping and praying that it's not flat, but it ended up being a blistered right front. So kind of glad I decided to fall back, but it definitely sucks. I mean, I definitely years ago would never have let anybody drive by me, but the last two races, I think I let 3 or 4 guys go around on the top. So that's it for the year.
JR, what was the toughest part of this season? You were kind of on cruise control for the last third of the season, it seemed like anyways. And if you can call points racing cruise control, but you didn't have to go out and be kind of the tiger and just stomp them like you want to be. What was the toughest part of your season?
To be honest, I'm going to say the toughest part was at the beginning because, like how some of those races that you guys put on, it might have looked easy. It wasn't easy. Like Flamborough battling with Andrew Gressel, passing him on the top. That's not easy. Like, that man is a machine behind the wheel. So that was tough to do. Peterborough, trying to get around the biggest blocker in the tour. That's always a challenge. And then, I'm going to say Sunset was a challenge too, right? Because it's not my best track. So when we finished fourth there at the beginning of the year, we had to do our homework. So we put in a lot of work, and it was definitely a challenge for the beginning of the year. I'm going to say at the end, it's easy to kind of pull the reins back, right? that just comes with experience, I guess, because I had no problem riding around in the top 10 at Delaware. It's definitely hard to do, but the car is so much better than that. So it's easier to just maintain position than it is to battle out with these guys, because every year these guys are getting stronger, man. Like I said, I watched all the races you guys put on for us this year nonstop on drives to work and whatnot. I know I shouldn't be doing that, but some of it looked easy, but it was not. It was some really good hard racing, and I loved every bit of it. And but boy, I'm glad it's over, because Delaware, I was a bucket full of nerves. I'm not gonna lie. I was walking around, I got up first thing in the morning, put my hauler first in line because I couldn't sleep, and I'm just glad it's over, because I was pretty nervous.
The nerves are the good part, JR.
That's what keeps me going, man. If I wasn't still
Right.
getting nervous or biased about racing, I wouldn't do it anymore.
Hey, in recent years, you were ready to park your program. You were frustrated with the lack of respect on the track, and it was, a lot of that was out on social media. This year, that late model division put on some fantastic racing. I mean, we went to Delaware Speedway and barely took a fender off a car, and that place is well known for often producing races that have a lot of carnage. What would you say the racing has been more respectable? What has changed?
Definitely. I mean, I don't know what it was about 2021. Just everybody. I mean, not just my incident, right? Like, just the racing in general was a bit of a shit show, really. But maybe it was everybody's just excited to be out of their houses because we're all locked up for 2 years. I don't know, but just everybody raced awesome. I mean, even I did some Flamborough regular shows. The racing there is fantastic. I think across the board in all divisions, racing has been good. But the APC Tour, man, I think a lot of his people put a lot of time and effort in their cars, and they just know that wrecking them's not smart. And but yeah, I feel for the most part all the races were really, really good and really clean. And like I said, it's obviously a lot of fun when you're winning. But I mean, I had a lot of fun this year. Really a lot of good hard battles, inside, outside with guys. And I don't think we replaced one panel on the car. We patched up the left front fender from, but it was pretty clean year, really. We didn't put one body panel on the car.
What's next? Are you guys done for the season? Are you going to go out and play around in the fall here a bit?
Oh yeah, we're definitely we're going to go to Froctoberfest this weekend at Flamborough Speedway. They're doing the final Triple Crown on the Sunday. We're leading that championship there. It's going to be a different look for us. We're going to have number 55 on the side of the car. It's going to be really weird seeing that, but just the way the point structure and everything works, I got to run the number 55 because Chris House put me in his car at the beginning of the year, and we won with that. So got to thank him for giving me this opportunity to hopefully finally try and win a Triple Crown. And then I keep hearing we're going to have about 20 cars for that event. So that'll be a great show on Sunday. And then I'm going to go to Autumn Colors, Peterborough. I really feel like I need a little bit of redemption there. I have a gut feeling also that's going to be a pretty wild event.
I could see that happening, JR. What I'm excited to see late model racers jumping up to run in the Pinty series. Because when you came up into CASCAR, JR, that was where you wanted to get to, right? That's where a young racer would want to go. How cool is it for you to see kids like Kyle Steckley, Jake Sheridan, even Brandon Watson, not really a kid, Trayton Lapsevich, sort of helping represent Ontario and get back into the NASCAR Pinty series, which to me, APC racing is phenomenal. The NASCAR Pinty series is phenomenal, but I don't like seeing it all Quebec, just like I didn't like seeing it all Ontario 20 years ago. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, seeing all these young guys, all the names you just mentioned, like Ray Morneau also, and it's making me feel really old, Adam, because when I was racing that class, I remember Triton running around like kicking stones and just 3 or 4, like just running around, and Ray, same thing, and Jake and all them guys. I remember all them when they were just little kids running around. So, but definitely they're all deserving. They're all extremely talented, and I'm glad that they moved up to try. But sorry, I shouldn't even say that because we're not even sure if we call it move up. We'll just say move to another. Because I want everybody to know how hard those cars are to drive. Like everybody in the Pinty series, they're so talented because people don't understand how much of an animal those cars are. They're big, they're heavy, they don't have shocks, they roll over. They're on steering boxes still, so they're a real animal to drive. So everybody who gets to experience it, I'm glad they're experiencing it because they realize how tough that competition really is. And I got a reminder of that when Steckley put me in his car in 2020. And when I finished third at Flamborough, like I was only a 10th of a lap off Lacroix, but he's pulling away because a 10th is a lot. Like you know, those guys are awesome. And there's times I miss the series, you know, that Adam, because I love the road courses. And I feel now that I matured a lot. I feel like if I raced then the way I do now, I would have won for sure 3 championships, and just from being smarter, because that deal there going across country and all different kinds of disciplines and venues, you really need to be patient. And that's something I didn't have back then.
Right on. JR, you know, what does the future hold for you? You know, can you already look towards next year? Or can you high five the team around the fire pit on Saturday and say, hell yeah, we're coming back next year to do it again, boys?
Yeah, I mean, I would like to try and go back to IWK 250. Last time I was there, we had a really good run with an old car. We finished 4th, so I feel like this car would really perform strong there. I'd love to get down in the States and do a couple of races, but, you know, with the cost, we'll see how that could work. But as of right now, can definitely say we'll be back for APC Tour again, because it's just phenomenal racing, and my family's involved. We can all go camp. It's a very family-oriented deal for us now, and you never know, right? Like I got some buddies that keep going over the dirt side, and Clinton, you probably, Adam, I'm sure you guys both remember my last time I was on dirt. It wasn't very pretty, but it was a blast. So now that I got a friend who owns a car, maybe I can convince him, let me do some actual practice laps and give that a whirl, because I'd like to get back to trying all kinds of different disciplines. I used to always love trying every kind of car. This year, I really kind of relaxed on trying a lot of different stuff. I'd like to get back to trying a bunch of different cars and just have fun with it. I mean, like I said, the butterflies and nerves, I get them every time I go to a racetrack, no matter what kind of car they're in. So, you know, I'll never quit until the day I lose that. And last year I lost that a little bit, but now that I got that back, it's a really hard fire to put out.
JR, that's amazing. And congratulations on a great season. Thank you on behalf of our viewers and Clinton and I. Every time we have asked you to come on, it's not even a hesitation. You come on, you're probably sick of seeing us on Tuesday nights, but we appreciate you joining us and telling your stories.
No problem. Like I said, both you guys, I appreciate everything you guys done for us with Chief Horse. And I've been watching this show because, you know, before I didn't know anything about it, but now I've been watching every Tuesday, and I don't know who I stick up to or stick up for on arguments, because you both got good points. So I love watching you guys go at it. And hey, I'll be watching every Tuesday. So I appreciate you guys.
You need to let us know what we have to argue about, because we just need some good topics, because we are big argumentative guys. Hey, I got one more question that maybe is argumentative, JR, before you go. It blew me away when Rick said that they don't weigh your cars after the races. I was shocked that the APC series doesn't weigh the cars. And I'm not picking on Daryl, because I have the utmost respect for Daryl and Luke. I was just, wow. So they only weigh them pre-race, but not after. Thoughts on that?
But you know, the thing is, we're impounded, and they don't let anybody go near them cars after. So, you know, when we get in line, it's much like the Pinties. They're keeping a really close eye on it. I'm not gonna lie. There was when was it? 2008? No, 2019 or 20. I tried to come up with great ideas of like, okay, we're gonna go through tech and weigh X amount. And I try and get all this weight out of the car. So there was a couple races. I don't know if you guys remember, but I was wearing my driver's suit. Well, I had like 4 or 5 of those ankle weights on me. You know, I was walking like a frick. But it was, believe me, it was not worth it. So they do a good job of the rules. And I've always told everyone they've really cleaned the rules up over the last few years. And it shows with the racing, right? The racing's been phenomenal. I think at Delaware, 13 or 14 guys broke the track record. And in the race, I think the top 18 was separated by 2/10. So no ankle braces are needed.
No, just to follow up on that.
Sure.
I think that's a perfect explanation, because for a guy like me, dirt, where we qualify, you go back to your thing, you do whatever you want. You make a good point. Basically, once they weigh them, you guys can't go near them anyway, so it doesn't really matter what they do. But thanks for the story, and you better watch. Daryl's going to have an extra big eye on you now. But thanks for your time, JR. Once again, like Adam said, we appreciate it. We'll see you at the banquet in a few weeks.
Sounds great. Thanks, guys.
See you, man. The
Wow.
elder statesman of late model racing.
Yeah, it's fun.
Clint, I remember it vividly when he won the Cascar Championship at Kawartha Speedway. I remember people like Kerry Mick saying, "There's no way he's going to win this championship. No way. His day's coming." For the record, Kerry Mix also said the same thing the next year about Andrew Ranger. No way that kid's winning the championship. He went on to win the championship. But
Some people
how
probably
good
said
is
that about
he?
Caden Lapsevich too.
No, Kerry wasn't quite as competitive at that. Like he was going to be the one that stepped in, interfered
I
in
see
either
what
of
you're
those drivers. But I had a great chat with Kerry on Sunday, even to the point where I said, "Kerry, there's nobody replaced you." And he says, "You know, Adam," he says, "it never ever was personal." He said, "I had to win. I had to win. We needed the money, and I would do what it took." And I said, "No," I said, "I didn't always like what you did on the racetrack, but I appreciate that I had someone like you to talk about for a lot of races." Because he was, well, let's get our next guest on, because he'll be able to tell us as well. There is no comparison to Kerry Mix.
They had an adventurous day. They were in my neck of the woods on Sunday because Todd and I split pit road when the races when I'm on there. And halfway through the race, I see them carrying this giant white cooler, like the biggest cooler, like the one we have at Oshweekend that could feed like three truckloads of lumberjacks. Carry this thing over. They start pouring it on the rad, pouring water in, and then they spent the next forever during the red flag changing the rad. And man, they were on pit road forever dealing with that. But Todd, welcome to the show, man. Good to have you here. We brought you on to discuss the NASCAR Pinty Series that was. How are you doing?
It's good to be with you, and I believe the note you sent was to BS about the series, or something like that. But anyhow, we'll whatever you want to do. Nice to be with you guys. Always good to relive a little racing. That was a great story that JR told, and I love to hear those stories. And I'm just imagining JR with these like skinny little ankles and weights over one on top of the other around him, trying to walk around like Frankenstein. But yeah, that's something that JR would do. Always. I love that about him though, because he's always thinking, and I love that about racers. Kerry's another one when you look at the picture of a racer, you see Kerry Mix, you see JR Fitzpatrick. They're always thinking about, how can I be better? Where can we bend the rules? Sure, but how can I be better? What can give us a little bit of an edge? What can make us do a little bit better at this track or at this part of the race, whether it's early or late? That's what I love talking to guys about. And Kerry's a great example of that, because he was always thinking, and that the determination that he had as well. You see some of that. It's different in everybody, but you see some of that in this year's Pinty's champion is Marc-Antoine Cameron. There's a determination. There was too much determination at times for Mark, and even early in this year and in years past, his determination and his charge to be out front all the time wound up hurting him and wound up costing him. And you really saw over the second half of the season, probably, that he just kind of took a breath. It's just, okay, I don't necessarily have to lead every lap. He wanted to, but I don't necessarily have to lead every lap. And understood the bigger picture. He had a lot of good people on his team reminding him too, thinking about the championship and reminding him about that. But there was definitely a progression in the racecraft of Marc-Antoine Cameron this year. I think that's probably one of the biggest keys to his success.
You know, that's a great comparison you made with Marc-Antoine Cameron and Kerry Mix. Because there were, how many moments were there this year when you look and you say, he didn't have to do that, but he did it, because that's his makeup. And, you know, he doesn't shy away. He races the way he races, unapologetically.
Yes, and you're right. Kerry was that way too. I remember interviewing after win at St. Eustache, and they said, like, you know, you're out front, and he looked at me. He said, "I think I led them all, didn't I?" And he was happy as hell that he had led every lap of the race, because that's what he wanted to be out front all the time.
So, question for you: What is it
Go for it,
about?
Adam.
Sorry, Clinton. What is it about the last race of the year that produces new winners in the NASCAR Pinty Series? Because
I wish I
unofficially,
knew.
Scott Steckley, Jason Hathaway, Brett Taylor, off the top of my head, I think those were 3 drivers who got their first win at the last race of the season. And now
Yes,
Brandon Watson. There might
Brandon
have been more.
Watson. Yeah, I'm sure there are. But you're right. It was even, let's go back a year when Brandon got into a Pinty's car for the first time. Boy, did he ever look good at Delaware Speedway. I believe it was 16, 4th, and 2nd he finished in the 3 races that were at Delaware last year. And he just thought, okay, he understands that place. And I think that was part of it too, is he knows Delaware Speedway, knows what it takes to win there. I was teasing him too. I said, oh, look, it's that new look that he had on the car. It was a black car this past weekend. And he said, yeah, maybe I'll go faster. I said, yeah, black is slimming. It makes you slip through the air a little bit faster. But it was something. But it was just, he clearly had the best car all day. It was just kind of, he was out front. And I was talking to him afterwards too, that he noticed he almost always took the outside on the restarts. And he said, that was something I picked up a little bit on Saturday night. It was just the outside is really good on the restarts. He said, I didn't take it late. I didn't want to be, you never know what's going to happen in the last few laps on those late restarts. But otherwise, it was out front. You just got such a good launch coming out of 4. He had, in a couple of laps, he was able to pull clear of whoever was inside and then get back down to the bottom.
Just want to quickly mention we're still looking for our quick wit trivia, and that is once again the question is who completed the most laps in the NASCAR Pinty Series in 2022. Someone said it earlier, but they've already been a winner, so they're not qualified. So, someone did get it. Todd, that led me to the stats page, and I'm never a stats guy. Adam will tell you we mock the stat guys. I don't know why, we always have. But when you look at the laps led and you talk about Cameron, backing things down and maybe trying to take it easy, they didn't look that way. I mean, when the stats are there, he led 803 laps over the next comparison, who was Lacroix with 215, almost 4 times as many laps led as his next competitor. That's a crazy stat in any division.
Especially for a brand new team too, because this was the first year that he and Robin McCluskey came together, built their own cars. They started putting things together last fall, and that's a remarkable accomplishment. I mean, if again, it wasn't for Mark maybe being a little over aggressive in the first race of the season, they damn near won at Sunset, their first race together. And what a launch to the season, and that could have been as well. But they finally broke through a couple of races later. But that is a real accomplishment. And yeah, they've found something, we'll say. Isn't that the cliche or that people use? Oh, they found something. Yeah, I'm sure they did. But part of that is the combination, the marriage, the new cars that they put together, and it's a team. They changed some personnel through this season as well, and I wasn't really aware of how personnel changes that took place. But this was one of the team members told me that this championship was won in the off season and at the shop. That was vital, as they just put in so many hours and worked so hard to build the cars and prepare the cars, and they changed some personnel during the season, and it led them to the championship. They were all determined. Everybody worked so hard on that team to have the cars prepared and ready for Mark, and he drove incredibly well. As you said, he led 3 times as many laps as anybody close to him.
Every year since the series has began, it seems like somebody is the dominant driver, right? Like the years when Steckley won, it was clear he was going to win. There's been a few years that were an exception. I have a feeling, Todd, next year we're not going to have that. I just envision next year a lot of drivers bringing their A game. It was the first year back on the road since 2019. I just feel, looking forward, this series is going some great places, and I think we're going to see 3 or 4 drivers. You're not going to see anyone lead 800 laps next year, because just the way it's shaping up, LP Dumoulin's going to rebound. Kevin Lacroix is going to want more next year. GM Payet is going to want to back up what they did this year. Can you think? I think this year was the most competitive year we've ever had, more competitive teams. Do you have any reason to believe why next year won't be more of the same?
It's interesting you say it was the most competitive year, and Mark led 3 times as many laps as the nearest competitor. But you're right in the sense that every race there's 15 cars that can win, whether it's a road course or whether it's an oval. The competition absolutely elevated this year. I think there's a few reasons for that. You mentioned that it's the first year that we had a more normal season of traveling across the country and going to road courses in different provinces and ovals in different provinces. And I think that's part of it. I think that everyone's had a lot of time to work on their programs as well, because there haven't been as many races and spent a lot of time at home the last couple of years. The infusion of new talent too, whether it's straight laps or whether it's Brandon Watson, Jake Sheridan jumping in for a couple of races, Ray Morneau, who looked pretty good there too. I think that's all part of it. I think it's everyone's pushing everyone else to be better. And if you have a group that comes in with a driver who looks good, or you find a group that has maybe found a little something in a setup that gives them a little bit of an advantage during the race, everybody pushes each other to be better. So yes, absolutely no reason to believe there won't be 15 cars next year at every race. And I can't think of a race where you couldn't find a group of cars that, oh yeah, he could win, or this driver could win, or that driver could win. It's so close. And we could likely have next year, here we're 2 days out from the completion of 22, and I'm already talking about 23, in the sense where you could have 3, probably 4 drivers at the last event of the year. We'll say it's the fall brawl at Delaware Speedway again next September, that depending on the math and where everybody finished, this is where we're going to have a stats guy like Bryce on hand at the racetrack to calculate who finishes where. I could see that scenario playing out next year.
Right on, Todd. We appreciate you being with us. It's always a pleasure working alongside you, and we'll be talking to you lots more, I'm sure, as we get into the postseason. And we got a few more topics to close off, and we'll be done here. Thanks, bud.
You got it, guys. Thanks so much. Let me say too, and I tried to do this after the race to as many, and you never see everybody that you want to say, but like thanks to all the teams, to you guys who did a great job, to everybody on our crew and all the teams, all the officials who work so hard. I ask lots of questions, and I bother people during the season and really ask a lot of them, and no one's ever said no. No one's ever turned me down. So it really makes my job a lot easier, and I appreciate all the help. So thank you.
Yeah, agreed.
The consummate professional, Todd Lewis.
Cheers, guys. Have a great night.
Yeah, have a good one.
That would be a great wrestling match. The consummate professional, Todd Lewis, versus the natural mistake, Adam Ross. Let's do this.
It better be a handicap match. Pound for pound, there better be 2 people across the ring from me.
I reiterated it on the broadcast the other day, but Daryl Timmermans, who's a monster of a dude too, he said to me, I always tell him, I can run faster mad than you can scared. I thought that was great.
Yeah.
Congratulations to our winner, Jimmy Thompson, who got the correct answer. It was Brandon Watson, who actually completed 4 more laps than Adam's guest, DJ Kennington. Brandon Watson completed 666 laps. DJ was 1662. So we got a few minutes to wrap up. The Fall Classic coming up this weekend at Humberstone, Adam. It's the Action Sprint Tour finale, the Knights of Thunder finale, and the 75-lap Canadian Street Stock Nationals to close off the program on Saturday night. So excited about that. Let's just look quickly at the point standings here for the Action Sprint Tour. You know, Jacob Dykstra, when he had his issue there at the Friday night of the Nationals with the weight, missing that, he has fallen back into the grasp now after the next race, and it is Darren Dryden 19 points behind, Matthew Bargy 31 points behind. It is still a race between Dykstra and Dryden. It is not locked down in the Action Sprint Tour at all. And then when we move on over to the Knights of Thunder for the 360s, it's only a 5-point gap between Mitch Brown, and then 18 points back for Ryan Turner Mitch Brown leads Corey Turner by 5, and then Ryan Turner's 18 behind Mitch Brown. So it is still a lot of people could win that. Josh Hansen still has a mathematical chance, but is a long shot. So it's going to come down to, can Corey or Ryan upset Mitch Brown? And they both had drama at him in the last big races. We saw Mitch Brown wreck his car in hot laps at Brighton. They had to thrash to get that one back in. So nothing is a given here in either of those divisions for the sprint car tours that we've been following all year.
And I'm just thinking, someone correct me, but didn't I hear that all of the border restrictions are being lifted on the 30th? Which means
we're hearing rumors that, yeah,
if Scott Kruder wanted to come and race, he could race. That could be a big deal for Terry Vince and for the fans.
Yeah, we're hopeful of it. We'll be live both nights. Throw up the flyer if you can, Spencer. We'll be live both nights. It's actually our official last 2 broadcasts of the season. That'll be live for our full crew. So I want to say thanks to everybody who's been on the road. It's been great. And we'll talk more about that next week. But yeah, Friday, September 30th, we start at 7. Saturday, it's a 6 o'clock start. Reminder, free camping all weekend. Your last chance to come out in Southern Ontario to watch some true dirt track racing. Camping's free all weekend. Be a good party. Check it out. The Fall Classic at Humberstone Speedway. Friday at 7, Saturday at 6 will be live both nights. That's about it. We have a couple of videos if you want to get into it.
I am so down with your intermission idea.
Okay, so fill me in on that.
Is that not one of the videos you were going to show?
No. What was my
right on the front
idea?
stretch? Get them a lightsaber, stick them on the inside of a tire.
Oh yeah. We have that. Show it, Spencer. So this was one of the videos. This is how we can keep the crews entertained, and this is what we're gonna do on the front straightaway at Osh Weekend. And the caption says, "When you leave the pit crew alone for a moment." I thought this was hilarious. Some of the comments came in, like Jordan Ray, Big Jordan Hill says, "Gonna need a transport tire for me." I think it could be a hoot or very dangerous. And on that note, let's just save the other videos because they're not good. They're safety related and people getting hurt. And let's just end it on a good note. Got to thank our champions. Joining us tonight, Peter Vanderwyst, quick Superstock champion, and Geoffrey Fitzpatrick. And Todd said it best, and I feel the same way. In their worst moments, I'm showing up on most of these scenes with the camera and a light right in their face, and they all take it so well. They all give us time. And I think from the production side, we can't thank the teams enough for them getting it and buying into what we're all trying to do here and staying positive and realizing, hey, we're putting on a show for these fans. And if they give us a bit of stuff to use, do you think David White would have stopped us in the middle of an APC race on Saturday and given us that time a couple of years ago? No, he probably would have walked away. And not because David White's an ass, just because he's busy. He's got a million things going. But he stopped, let the fans know what the story was. Even Lane's crew during that situation, it's their worst moment of the year. And there we are showing it off. And, they gave us a story, and we just really appreciate it.
It's all we want to do. Tell the stories. You mentioned it about stats. I don't care for stats, although there are some cool ones. DJ Kennington completing his 30,000th lap of NASCAR Pinty Series. Like, there are stats I like, but they don't tell the stories. I prefer the stories. It's just
you want to tell a story about that. So as part of our TV coverage, I hope I'm not going to get in trouble for this, for letting out of the bag, but we caught, at least I saw it in my own eyes, I don't know when the TV cameras caught it. DJ's mom stands on the backstretch right outside the tech shed with her fingers crossed. Every lap he's out front, just pace and pace and pace. And it's such a classic mom image. Great deal. And I saw Derek Smith and I said, Derek, go over there and take a picture of that. So he went over and snapped some pictures. So we'll see what comes back. But thank everybody for watching. That's the other thing when we're out on the road, especially at places Adam and I don't normally get to. I mean, myself, I don't get to Delaware very often because my role at Osh Weekend. But the 2 times we went, so many people came up and said they watch every week. And we joke about it because the numbers we see don't add up to all the people that come up and tell us they're watching. So we really appreciate it. If there's anything you want to see or guests you want to see, let us know and we'll reach out to them.
It's been all sorts of fun. It is going to continue to be fun, Clint. We didn't have a domestic dispute hardly all year long. So we're building up for something big, I'm sure.
I
But
think
no, it's just
flying
been
out
good.
around, yeah, just I agree, man. We had a great time. Everybody on the crew, we really had a laugh, and even the new people we brought in, like Abby, not only is he a great drone pod, just a solid dude. We had a blast just hanging out with everybody and joking and cutting up. So that's a great part of what we're doing. Let's just a couple comments. Mike Kura sent a couple questions. He said, any chance for a bigger video board? The video board was a test at Oshweekon and Delaware. It came off very good at Delaware. The plan is to try and always grow bigger, better all the way around. And yes, about my back. Yeah, I did severely injure my back Thursday. I don't know, man. I hope I can make it through this weekend. So if you see me moving around slowly or just being lazy, it's because I'm not going to be moving very fast for a while.
And if you see me moving slowly and just being lazy, you've seen me everywhere we've gone this year.
Oh, all right. Thank you for everything. Spencer, thank you for everything you do for the show. We appreciate it, everybody. Have a great day. We'll talk to you soon.
Cheers.